Thank you. I would also like to remind colleagues they should not be wandering in and out of the chamber, crossing the line of sight when a discussion is taking place. We now come to the Select Committee statement on behalf of the Home Affairs Committee. Dame Karen Bradley will speak up to 10 minutes, during which no interventions may be taken. At the conclusion of her statement, I will ask members to ask questions on the subject of the statement. These should be brief questions and not full speeches. Can I emphasise that questions should be directed to the Select Committee Chair and not the relevant Government Minister? Front benchers may take part in questioning, and I call Dame Karen Bradley.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I'm grateful to the Backbench Business Committee for granting this statement. The banning of away fans at football matches is highly unusual in this country. The imposition of such a ban in respect to fans from another country is almost unprecedented. The fact that the ban was on fans of an Israeli club playing at a venue situated among sizable Muslim communities added a level of political sensitivity. That is why we as the committee took the unusual step to write to the then Chief Constable of West Midlands Police to seek an explanation. We were surprised by what this simple request eventually exposed. Our report covers conclusions about 3 organisations: West Midlands Police, who were responsible for providing advice to the Safety Advisory Group, or SAG, of Birmingham City Council, the SAG itself, both in Birmingham and more generally, and the Home Office, including its liaison across government. Let me take those in turn. On West Midlands Police, our inquiry uncovered serious failings in the way in which they gathered and presented information and intelligence in advising on this fixture. Whilst this fixture was rightly identified in advance as a high-risk fixture, and the initial assumption was for away fans to attend, consultation was limited. The police relied to a disproportionate extent on a single conversation between a Chief Inspector in West Midlands Police and the Dutch Police about the behaviour of Maccabi fans at a match against Ajax in Amsterdam in November 2024. The Dutch police strongly disputed the WMP version of events, which included claims that 500 to 600 Maccabi fans were involved in disorder that targeted local communities, that they had links to the Israeli Defence Force, and that they threw local fans in the river. We cannot be sure what was said in this conversation because, unbelievably, the notes of the meeting were destroyed by West Midlands Police. Appalling. But what we do now know is that some of the information relating to the conduct of the Maccabi fans was generated by artificial intelligence, Microsoft Copilot to be precise. The use of AI by West Midlands Police was under consideration at the time, but was not authorised at that stage. What we found extraordinary, though, is that the information to support such a significant decision, whether from AI or elsewhere, was not cross-checked with other sources. It was not just that WMP failed to do due diligence on the information that it presented to the SAG, which was responsible for taking the decision to ban away fans. They failed to prepare properly to give accurate information before the committee. The then Chief Constable told us explicitly that AI was not used by West Midlands Police and that the reference to a match against West Ham had resulted from a Google search. This is a completely fictitious game that was cited as one of the reasons for banning the away fans. He had to subsequently apologise that this was not the case. Precisely how West Midlands Police managed to generate inaccurate information using AI to inform the intelligence picture related to this match is the subject of an ongoing inquiry by the Independent Office for Police Conduct, so I'm sure we will hear more in due course. But whilst we accept that the former Chief Constable did not deliberately misinform the committee, he should have ensured that he came armed with the facts, rather than complacent platitudes followed by humble apologies. But it is not the issues relating to competence that are the most damaging to the reputation of WMP. It is those around balance. Balance in the information presented to the SAG, which consistently emphasised the unique risk from the Maccabi fans and downplayed the risk emanating from local communities in Birmingham. Intelligence around elements in these communities threatening to arm themselves against Maccabi fans was not relayed to the SAG. There was also imbalance around community engagement. WMP acknowledged that they failed to engage with the Jewish community early enough, in contrast to a full programme of engagement with other communities. They apologised for this and for managing to mislead the committee on the extent of engagement, and acknowledged the damage done to relations with the Jewish community in the West Midlands. We welcome the commitment of the new Acting Chief Constable this week to continue its efforts to rebuild trust with the Jewish community, and more broadly to address each of our recommendations. But I cannot stress strongly enough how vital it is that the Jewish community in Birmingham and the West Midlands is able to feel trust in their police, because at the moment they simply don't. As I've indicated, responsibility for the decision to exclude the Maccabi fans ultimately rested with Birmingham City Council through the provision of a safety certificate for the event, and the role of the SAG is to provide specialist safety advice regarding the event. In reaching its conclusions on advice relating to public order, it is heavily reliant on the advice of the police. We reviewed the content of all 3 SAG meetings that provided advice on the fixture. Having done so, we were not surprised that the chair of the SAG wrote to West Midlands Police seeking further clarity on the rationale for the ban on away fans. There were clearly some who were uncomfortable with this decision. Not just Aston Villa, who said they were happy to host away fans, nor the leader of Birmingham City Council, who expressed to us both his discontent with the decision as well as his respect for the operational independence of the police and also the integrity of its advice. In respect of the role of the SAG in this decision, we concluded that it failed to apply sufficient challenge to the clear recommendation of West Midlands Police regarding the banning of away fans, and that it lacked the capability to balance the interests of local communities and those of the police against broader national and international considerations, given the unusual sensitivities surrounding this particular fixture. We welcome the review of guidance to SAGs being undertaken by the Cabinet Office and recommended in our report that this considers whether an escalation process is required to handle these rare but highly consequential circumstances. As part of its review of the governance of SAGs, the police should review the presence of elected politicians on what are essentially safety-oriented committees. As I've said, it is unusual for there to be a political context to SAG decisions, but that was the case here. And whilst we did not see evidence of political pressure regarding the decision to ban away fans, we simply do not know what conversations went on behind the scenes. We did note that the Muslim community councillors on the SAG, who had publicly stated on whether the match should take place at all, had a disproportionate opportunity to influence the decision of the SAG. We conclude that elected politicians should not sit on SAGs. Finally, we scrutinised the role of the Home Office in the decision-making process and that of the government. Strictly speaking, there should not have been a role for government in a decision taken at a local authority level on the operational advice of the police. But Number 10 recognised at an early stage the political significance of the match and asked the Home Office to be kept informed of developments. There was also a DCMS interest, as that department has lead responsibility for the safety of sports grounds. So this was a test of the ability of the government as a whole to identify whether it should have a role in the decision and, if so, to share information internally to enable any intervention to be made in a timely and effective manner. And Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm afraid to say that this test was failed. The government was informed on 6th of October, a month before the match, that a ban on away fans was the likely outcome of the SAG process. It was the working assumption. If the government did not find this outcome politically palatable, you might think, Madam Deputy Speaker, that it would take prompt action to avert it, for example, by providing the necessary additional resources to enable the fixture to be policed safely and go ahead. No such attempt was made. The Home Secretary and ministers were not told definitively that there would be a ban on away fans, but we know she was briefed that it was a possible option. Home Office officials were aware that a ban was the likely outcome, and we still don't know precisely when ministers in the Home Office, DCMS and Number 10 were informed of this. It was only on 16th of October when the decision was announced that the government intervened in the form of a post on X by the Prime Minister, saying that this was the wrong decision. Only at this point did officials begin exploring options with the police to enable away fans to attend. The Home Secretary argued that respect for the operational independence of the police did not allow earlier intervention, but this principle was inconsistently applied. If the government could intervene publicly after the decision, could it not have intervened privately before the decision? We concluded that it could have done so in a way which respected the operational independence of the police and reduced rather than inflamed tensions. In the event, Maccabi Tel Aviv did not take up its allocation of tickets and the issue went away. But not without considerable damage being done to the reputation of West Midlands Police, to trust in the police by the Jewish and other communities in Birmingham, and to the integrity of decision-making around the policing of football and sporting events. We welcome the review of this decision-making process announced by the government and have urged the government to look again at a previous review of the policing of football by the Noble Baroness Casey, and we look forward to examining the results. Thank you.
Nigel Huddleston.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I thank the Chair of the Select Committee and her team for the work here? I agree with all of her conclusions. Can I ask her, does she agree with me, though, that in particular on the last point she made, what is transpiring in terms of who knew what when, it's now very clear that government was not coordinating effectively, that the government seemed to be asleep at the wheel, and in particular either ministers and or officials at the Home Office and DCMS were clearly not coordinating with each other on what is transparently a very sensitive issue, because they knew about the possibility of the ban weeks before the decision was made and appeared to have done absolutely nothing.
Bradley.
I thank the Shadow Secretary of State for his question, and I have to say I do agree with what he said. I will give the Minister, who was new in her post, the credit that she came in front of the committee and did give us a full account of what happened. But I have been a Minister in the Home Office, and I cannot believe that somebody did not spot the possibility of this problem and the alarm bells were not ringing, and that earlier intervention privately behind the scenes, not impacting on operational independence, but a private conversation could have averted this whole problem. It could have been done without anybody knowing that there was no working assumption to ban the away fans, and the match could have gone ahead in the normal way.
Sir Alec Shelbrooke.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Madam Deputy Speaker, concerns of Jew hatred in this country I have raised several times in this House. And as I've mentioned on previous occasions, Madam Deputy Speaker, I give credit to the Prime Minister that he drove out the anti-Semitism of his party, because between 2015 and 2019, anti-Semitism and Jew hatred was given a safe space. So may I ask the Right Honourable Lady, in the context of there is another political party in this House today, Madam Deputy Speaker, which I'm sure you were as shocked as I was, to find that effectively in the Sunday newspaper report there is Jew hunting taking place in this country now, that we must be sure that our Jewish communities and our Jewish constituents can have faith in the authorities and the police. And may I ask the Right Honourable Lady, Madam Deputy Speaker, did she find evidence of anti-Semitism specifically playing a part in these decisions?
Karen Bradley.
Thank my right honourable friend for his question, and he makes an incredibly important point, and it was really at the basis of many of the questions that we put as a committee when we took evidence in person, because the suspicion was there that the decision had been taken not because of worries around violence from the Maccabi fans, but because of their religion. And you know, it has to be said that 2 weeks later, another match went ahead at Aston Villa with away fans with a Swiss team, young boys, and there was significant violence, and they managed to have away fans there when the violence did happen, but nobody was suggesting that those fans should not attend. So we were very, very concerned. Now, we could not find actual evidence of anti-Semitism, but the very fact that we had elected politicians who were campaigning not just for a ban on away fans, but for the whole match to be cancelled, sitting on the Safety Advisory Group, which provided the advice to Birmingham City Council around the safety certificate, that has to give great concern, and I know has given great concern to the Jewish community who are in contact with me in Cross Birmingham, and I would urge all safety advisory groups to make sure that there cannot be any inference of political interference, and nobody can think that there's political interference. They have to be fully transparent, and everyone has to appreciate and understand why decisions are taken.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Firstly, I want to thank my right honourable friend for the work that she's done and our Select Committee have done on this report. Now, to my knowledge, this is the first time that artificial intelligence has been used where it's hallucinated and given a response where a public body has then made a decision. From my right honourable friend's understanding, has West Midlands Police learnt from this mistake and have they removed this type of sloppy analysis from their decision-making process?
Well, that would be a question, I think, for West Midlands Police, but my honourable friend is absolutely right. I mean, there obviously is a role for artificial intelligence in many areas of public life, including in policing, but I don't think any of us, when we do a search and have artificial intelligence provide some information, don't double check, don't click on the links, don't make sure that we talk to the right people. This West Ham match that was cited as part of the reason for banning away fans and the tensions that were identified, etc., the match never happened. No. Why did someone not pick up the phone to the Metropolitan Police and ask them what their experience had been in this fictitious match. They would have pretty quickly discovered that the match never took place and that this was not a genuine fixture. Now, I do hope that West Midlands Police and all police forces have learned, and I must say that actually speaking to other forces who've been incredibly helpful, including the Metropolitan Police Commissioner who came in front of the committee, they have been clear that they would not allow this to happen. So I do hope West Midlands Police have learnt their lesson.
Final question, Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I first of all thank the Chair of the Home Office Select Committee for the report. Sport is always a method of bringing people together. On this occasion it failed miserably. The conduct of those police elements to distort the occasion of Maccabi Tel Aviv football match. Can the Chair of the Committee answer this question? Those who deliberately thwarted the law, what did the committee say should happen to those in senior roles who did wrong?
I thank my little friend from Strangford, and he's absolutely right that sport has such a role to play in bringing us together. We've just seen at the Winter Olympics the joy that the athletes feel, and the joy and the sense of pride in the country at the success of Team GB. And it is one of those areas that there shouldn't be political tension, there shouldn't be political issues. It should be something that is viewed joyfully and that fans are allowed to enjoy their teams playing. And that is something that we do so well in this country. This is why this is such a stain on us, because actually throughout the years we have managed to facilitate away fans attending games and enjoying those fixtures in a safe way. Football is not what it was in the past. It's a family game now. I go to football matches with my son all the time. I'm a regular attendee at many games, and I enjoy the atmosphere and I enjoy the fact that it is somewhere that families can be. And so it is a great shame that didn't happen. Now, he asked specifically about the senior members of the police, and obviously the then Chief Constable has retired now, but I think once we've had the completion of the in conduct inquiry, that there may be more further action might be taken.
That is the end of the Select Committee statement. If everybody wishing to leave the chamber should do so very quickly.